All right. How to Journal Like a Pro by Jason. Please take notes or do something to remember everything. I don't want to deal with like confusion. That's why I want for like the questions. Write down questions that you might find. I don't want to take all your time. Should be about like 10 to 20 minutes. All right. Key points. This is kind of a little bit mixed up, but finding the right template is what we're gonna be going over. Understanding what you need to dig up from your journal. That's something people struggle with. They don't understand what they want, what they need to know, what to dig up from their journal. What should you be aiming for in your journals? How to make journaling simple but useful. Because you notice how everyone always complicates, or they always think it's such a like, you need to write all this, that, when they have no information, but they have a lot of like yappiness. So these are 4 key points we're gonna go over. If you guys want to just like write these points, we're simply just gonna these are not in order, by the way. These are just kind of 4 key points that I'm gonna mark over, but I'll have the title per what I'm going over. So yeah. All right, we'll move on to the next one. Understanding why a journal is so important. So I kind of went based off of this with cause and effect, and the reason why I want you guys to understand is it's simple. Everything. I was confused how it went wrong for me. Effect. When you have the journal, I was able to find my solution by seeing the past where I started to change things, whether it was with a strategy, whether if it was psychologically. Did I start becoming more greedy? Did I talk about that in my journal? Did I start becoming more emotionally attached to money? Did I talk about that in my journal? Did I not take action ahead of time? And that's an issue people start to realize. And then after that, what I started to notice was once when we started getting towards that, I had lost, like, there's things where people would like to say, and this is for me personally, I had lost confidence in my strategy. People tend to lose confidence because they'll see some kind of losing streak or some issue. One effect that you'll have while having the journal, so the effect is the journal, I was able to gather data and understand deeply or simply how to execute like a pro. You know, being able to execute like a pro is where your mind is free and it is open to just perfectly get there. And things that were holding me back. This one is actually really recent, but I never realized how much you can use a journal. Shout out to Evan for this one. This one was where it was at. My struggles that controlled my bad habits, and I was able to identify them and take action on changing the way that I acted in my mindset. That was one really big thing. All right. Knowing these things, how can you dig it up? And those are just examples of like small examples. There's more you can list up any way possible, any title, you name it, we got it. All right, simple. Let's just start with questions to ask yourself. Strategy side. Why did price move towards this price? What did price want to do? Where is price wanting to go? How can I analyze and react correctly in the charts? How does my strategy connect to this move? I mean, etc. The list continues on, but don't complicate. Your journal is there for you to take pieces. It's a puzzle. You are finding the pieces towards the strategy. You don't grab a random piece from a different puzzle set and you just shove it in. Yeah, it may work, but it starts complicating it. You want to stay simple. You want to stay straight to the point. You can't just, the image won't look good if you have different pieces and if they're flipped upside down and whatnot. But when you have a simple, easy, straight to the point strategy that you are able to journal because you have dig through it and you understood what was there, everything becomes more sense. Simple questions. It lets you think how and why your strategy works and how you can apply it into live data. People struggle with this because they don't understand why their strategy works. They have no complete confidence of why does the strategy work? Where does the strategy work? How can I make this strategy actually work? Like, does it work here? Does it work here? Why doesn't it work in this situation? How can I make it work in this area? Psychological. What exactly is holding me back from profitability? What are external habits that keep me away from where I want to be? When you start answering these questions, it's like it like digs with your head. Like I'm already looking at these two, and I'm like, it like bugs me, because I want to understand why. Which emotions do I struggle with? What habits are controlling the way I am trading, whether good or bad? This is something people struggle with. They don't understand good or bad. They just say habits. They don't know how to define the difference. Understanding which emotions or what habits or what ideas in your mind that are controlling your habits is what creates you differently from an unprofitable and profitable trader with your journal. Same thing again. The list continues on, but you need to dig yourself and be 100% honest to find the issue. Simple, but honest. Is always what you want to be aiming for. When you write down all the questions and try to fill them in with sentences that you find things in different ways, meaning you gotta, self-reflect like a mirror. No makeup, no excuses, write out everything. You can't just put a paper on the wall and hope that it just, goes away. It's a mirror. Your journal is a mirror. Okay. I know how to dig it up now. But how do I use it? How do I truly use my journal? Use this for psychological and use this for strategy. I kind of mixed it up. Sorry. I wanted to make it just how I kind of flowing with it. Dig for your own mistakes. Psychological. Simple as that. Dig. When you have that data in your charts and you're able to journal what you do psychologically, what is holding you back, what is good, what is bad, you start digging for your own mistakes. It's the puzzle again. You are grabbing pieces that you need, but not from other sets. You're not grabbing it from whatever someone else is saying. You're grabbing it from your journal words you said. List them out multiple times to drill it into your head to get you mad. When you tell yourself, I'm unprofitable. Okay, why? I overtrade and I struggle with greed. We hate it. We hate it. We just hate doing that because we want to look perfect in our own words. But when you use that anger to change that mistake, it's constant repetition because you're like, I felt that. I felt it again. I felt it again. And you use that anger to change in a good way. You never use that anger. You never use that anger in a bad way. You always use your emotions in a way to create yourself into a better person. That's what makes it difference from a profitable to unprofitable trader. And then for strategy, seeing what did work and what doesn't work. Write it down. What did work? I took this for value gap during this time, this way, and I saw the candle structure look like this. If you don't have a lot of data for a certain thing, it won't be possible. You need to gather data and start to notice. Aim to honesty when you are writing out everything you are seeing with your strategy in the markets. One thing I like to do is record myself, record what I say out loud. I like talking out loud, or like recording calls I do with other people. Because when I'm able to do that, I'm able to see what I did notice and what I didn't notice and what I need to look for the next day. Looking for what gave you that lower win rate, risk to reward, or just less confidence, second guessing, anything. It goes on and on. These are just examples. Looking for what gave you that lower win rate, risk to reward, or less confidence, second guessing. When you start to dig for those things, you start to understand, why does the strategy work? Where does the strategy work? And how can I become a profitable trader from this strategy? That's what your journal is doing right here. It's a bridge from being unprofitable to profitable, and the middle part of that bridge is called journal. Simple as that. All right, what should I be aiming for in the journal? Couple things to be focusing on. What am I trying to fix? What am I looking for? Is there ways I can improve every trade? What can I eliminate or replace? How can I change things up? These are just the factors to get yourself to understand your mind and how to catch an edge. These are factors to understand how to understand the strategy and catch an edge. When you have data, you can always look over. I started trading on August journaling August 2024, and I'm gonna show you this example. My first ever journal to one of my most favorite journals, even though it was like a losing trade.
Hey Jay, thank you.
It goes for everything, whether trading or not. It fits for everything. When you use this journal, you can realize what you change. For this trade right here, or not trade, sorry, journal right here. This is just something I wrote down for myself, digging out that anchor. Things that are anchors that I avoid. Simple as that. How to remove greed, being disciplined in my own words, over leveraging. I've been focusing on this the whole week. And it's just simple things like that. These are just examples how to do it. But when I'm able to journal these things and read through them, if I struggle with it, it gives me new ways and new ideas and new perspectives to attack the issue and change for a better. So that's what I know what I'm aiming for in the journal. When I'm able to journal those certain things and look back to attack. You are always, I want everyone to write this down. Every single time you are journaling, you got to do a self-reflection in the weekend, look through your journal, and see how you can do better for the next week. Not your trades, but your journal. Because it goes for your psychology, risk management, your strategy, how you are doing in your life, everything. It's all there. Focus on the journal. Simple as that. All right, next. How to make journaling simple but useful. Straight up on the point. People struggle with this. You literally just need to summarize topics. That's it. You have a certain topic. Let's talk about greed. Summarize it. If you like to write a lot, summarize it. Don't get carried away. When you are journaling, let's say about your psychology, focus on one topic at a time. What is your issue? And focus on that specific issue. This, that, greed, overtraining, impatient. 3 different things. Do not get carried away. No fluff. It ruins the point to find answers. You gotta go straight to the point. You gotta knock it out. You can't make it seem like a different person. This is your journal. You're reading these words. Why are you scared to read your words? Why are you scared to read your own words? What your mind is thinking about. That's crazy. Some people are scared of their own mind. They can't sit in a quiet room and just think their thoughts. Every week, see certain things you can add or take away. In your journal. This is not with strategy, this is not with psychology, just with your journal. How can you improve that journal? Be descriptive in a formal way. Act like you're in a business call or something. Act like you're talking from one partner to another. How can you improve? What are some journals? Because when you start to see that you're taking it professionally, you start to take it seriously, it seems like you're creating new ideas for a business. It's the same thing for trading, same thing for real estate, same thing for whatever you name it, you got it. One phrase I will preach to everyone in this industry or any type of way to self-improve: simplicity scales, complexity fails. Every single time. Only reason why complexity fails is because when you have simplicity, you were able to get straight to the point and move on. Complexity is where you are staying at multiple times because you were digging through different ways and areas. It's good to be complex, but it's always better to simplify and move on once when you figure it out. Keep it simple. I don't care how much it sucks. You don't need to hear every little detail, but get straight to the point unless it is a big issue. If you got to dig for it, you got to dig for it. But do not stay complicated. Well, that's how analysis paralysis is created. They complicate things. They think different ways. When you just simplify, when you understand what is going on, you move on. Same thing for everything. There's just one example I want to give you guys. All right. Example, good and bad trades. Hold up. Examples of good and bad trades. Good and bad journaling. I don't like stuck with trades. Let's start with the bad one. Really honest, a stupid trade to go with. Lots of rules are broken. All right, let's cut it there. I didn't say what rules were broken. I didn't say why it was broken. I didn't say what I struggled with. So now I don't know what I struggled with. I journaled it, but I don't remember what I struggled with. Made no sense to mention this. Why did it make no sense? Okay. We don't know. It doesn't tell us enough. I feel stupid about this because of the fact I thought of it. I'm against the trend and I'll be fine. The SMT wasn't an SMT. The shape, but it was a shape, but actually it was supposed to be never played out. I was trying to chase a 60 ticks I would risk to get 500 ticks, which is extremely retarded because it's not the time to try for those. I'm going to be humbled every day, whether I notice or not, and treat the markets like a person, not a paper. Look at that. I talked about it, but I didn't give enough reasoning. I didn't talk about my strategy. I didn't talk about psychology. I said it was dumb, but I didn't say what I struggled with. I didn't say how I can improve. I just beat myself up 20 times. I'm dumb. I'm this. I'm that. So I talked about the trade, but I didn't say what was going on. All right, now let's move to the good one. I talk about market profiles, what type of news it was, and sometimes for profiles, I would add what type of day or the session or what was the main thing for me to know. What type of daily profile, because I used to focus on daily profiles. Then I would talk about concepts. I would only focus on concepts. I would like to talk a lot because I'm talking to myself. I'm the author. Marked out swing lows, candle structure that made a difference, and the lows and highs of previous day wicks that would have been taken for major liquidity. Then I went to major daily time frames for value gaps and wanted to mark anything that was major to me since it was a news day, and made sure to jump in lower time frames and mark out all the other fair value gaps to see where price is likely to stop if it doesn't want to break a certain level or not. When I was in the markets, I was necessarily looking at the high of day and realized the 15-minute was a huge impact with this bearish for value gap, marked it out. Basically talking about what I was doing. I didn't have a set strategy because I wasn't there yet. This was in January. This is before I joined Salmons, but I didn't have a set strategy for myself. But I knew what I was talking about. I was being descriptive. I showed everyone everything. I said, this is what's going on. This is what I'm doing. I need to continue on, This is what's going on. This is what I'm doing. I need to continue on. Same thing over and over again. Okay, psychology. I was mad, I was talking about what was affecting me with my psychology. I wanted revenge. And the way I did revenge. Well, I was talking about a girl, who doesn't care about me or yada yada. I'm 15. I can't really relate for anyone else, but this is just me being open about it. Mentally, I wanted positivity in my life and find that passion for God to build up that self-conviction and everything. So I talked about self-conviction. I didn't give the emotions. See, this one wasn't perfect, but I was able to talk about why I was upset. I was able to self-reflect and look at external habits, but I was able to look at the fact that I was able to reflect why I did wrong, why I was in the right place, but I was able to talk about what I needed to improve on. Self-conviction. When I have self-conviction, I understand why I'm doing something wrong. And this is something people can't do. It's always good to list something bad and something good, but you always want to talk about it. One thing I did was I would talk about you and I. This is something someone told me about. Your bad habits and everything you hate is you, and I is the person. I would talk about my bad habits. I would do. This is kind of how I did it differently. Instead of psychology, I focused on bad habits. You literally trade it on random assumptions. You trade it on things that don't even exist. I would say there's an SMT, but there wasn't. And then I would continue on with saying, you always take my greed up and control it. This is my emotions. You always make me want to destroy myself, go on tilt. Make me want to click buttons I shouldn't. Make me physically blind in the charts. But this is like the psychology I was realizing. But then I said, I as myself, as the person who I want to be, I am profitable. I don't let emotions. Sorry, it's supposed to be. I don't let emotions affect my trading. I am not attached to trading. I'm a person who trusts in God in the process and in myself. That was kind of my motto. Trusting in God, the process, and in myself. And then I started talking about risk management. Why was I doing? What was I doing wrong? How can I improve? What I do for the day? How should I do it? Improvements in general. I need not to over leverage. Trust my bias that I gave for the day. And we were still in a bearish for value gap, which made me not want to hold it when we were still having no reason to push up. Simple as that. When you start to take notes of these things, your mind shifts and you're like, whoa, this is different. You start to open up everything. All right, now finding the right template for you. I got 3 templates I would recommend to everyone who asks us about journaling. So this one right here, I will send the links for everything. This one just basically is a simple, what pair, what news, and what session. And then I kind of ran through right here. Image of your analysis, image of the broker you took so you see your executions. Market profiles, concepts, psychology, risk management, improvements, everything that you traded, put down a screenshot of. So like, did you take 1 trade, 2 trades, and then write down, show the daily, 15-minute, 4-hour, main time frames. You can add more to all of it, whether if you like it or keep it how it is, but it's your journal. You adjust it. Look what catches for your attention. Look what you're like, whoa, I know I can improve from this. What are you focusing on finding out in your trades? What do you want? That's for the right template. Are you focused on win rate? Okay, focus there. Are you focused on how to improve? Focus there. Are you focused on, how to improve on a higher RR? Okay, focus on one that helps you improve with the higher strategy. Maybe that strategy is lower win rate, but a higher RR. These are different examples. I will send the prompts in after I am done with this, but some more examples. The one on the right basically is the image of your trade. It shows the money amount, but basically you fill in a bunch of words. You fill in 2 images because it already talks about most of it. And then you basically give a deep, brief, description. That's the word I was looking for. And then the one on the right, it talks, basically you can write out your whole strategy, like processes, entry model, time, pairs, risk management, how many trades, all these different things. Different types of strategies you're going to have. I call it testing because it was for back testing. And what this did was it let me fill out everything. Learnings. What were my learnings? I didn't have to talk about what I did good. It was just learnings because, this was for back testing for me. What day was it? For me, what I would do is I would also add the time. I didn't really add the time on this one. Was it a break even? Was it a market structure shift? What type of entry? Did you use like a market limit, a market order, or limit order? Time frame alignment, account, type of model. Was it a this? Was it this? Was it this? What month was it? What day was it? What entry time frame? What was it a win? Was it a loss? What type of position? Your pair, your P&L, your market conditions was what kind of confluences you have, what session time it was. And when you're able to look through all these different things, then you can import that screenshot there. And then what you can do is it'll show you everything else. But yeah, boys, that is it. I want to slide everyone the Notion things. I'll also have a link in the description. All right, boys, but that's about it.
Great,
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.